Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to take a few minutes to respond by way of a comment that was left on a recent video I put out by way of a trainer, Dylan Jones, who, again, using a bite suit to allow a dog to express control, a dog that has become aggressive. Again, you see other trainers out there doing this type of thing. Those are identified as balanced dog trainers. I have videos up talking about why this is a problem and potentially setting up a blindsiding moment for trainers and dog owners. Again, I talk about being blindsided by way of dog biting, seemingly like out of the blue. And here's the thing, I profile those situations on my Flipping the Script series. You can go watch those situations, such as if you watch the Tom Davis video, where he's allowing a dog to express control by way of the game of tug. Okay, I did another video about another balanced dog trainer advocating using the game of tug. But on the Tom Davis video, you see this Doberman redirecting on Tom Davis several times. And the contrast is there as well. I talk about very specific. Understand, I put up very specific information based regarding what the source of the problem is in the dog training world. I talk about what defines a process. I talk about the core ingredients, okay, influence and control that both reveal the current state of the relationship, but also in terms of change itself, okay. I talk about being dialed into the relationship, being dialed into a dog's level of thinking, and again, there's lots of examples of bad things happening to trainers. And another situation over in UK, Danny Wells situation, profile that aligns with the Tom Davis situation. I talked through all of it. And there's lots of examples where you'll see these trainers talk about, and this is the blame shifting, like there's when these blindsiding moments happen, there must be something wrong with the dog. The dog isn't wired right. The exact words of these trainers will use as an excuse, when seemingly out of nowhere, after again, understand their whole foundation is based on this idea, okay, that training is a learning-based exercise. You'll see them using treats. You'll see them, motivating dogs to respond while assuming that those responses represent that the perception of dogs are changing the right way. But again, the question I put out, and again, I call it the question of the century. It's posted at the top and the front and center on my Facebook page. And again, not a single dog training expert has been able to even respond to this question, because it goes right to the heart of the matter. What is the criteria that these trainers are using to establish that the perceptions of dogs are actually changing the right way within the framework of response? That is the question of the century. Okay, so even here with these trainers who are allowing these dogs to express control, gaining, again, agreeableness that way, because you'll see it. They try to package this up as though, well, it's a good thing. You're letting the dog just to kind of get it out of their system, find the dog doesn't get anything in return. But understand that you're dealing with a relationship problem. The dog has already got something in return, okay? It's the reason the dog has hit that level in the first place is because, again, in terms of a relationship problem, the dog has gained a high level of control in the relationship. They've hit the tipping point. So again, we talk about reversing course. The spotlight has to come over onto the owner in terms of, reconciling the relationship the right way by way of the dog perceiving the dog owner properly in the relationship. But through that, we talk about, dogs as social animals. You talk about, hierarchy, strength and weakness defined through the relationship. I understand that this goes to the core of the issue. The change itself is defined through the social aspect of the relationship. But again, once you've hit that level, once control is manifesting, being expressed, those moments, they have to be intercepted. Okay, you see trainers that are trying to advocate differently, and this gets into this whole thing about, I talk about the context of agreeableness. And think of it this way, again, that's why I keep using the parenting example by way of a selfish child. The themes of, bribery, accommodation, and negotiation to gain agreeableness by way of a selfish child relationship problem. Sure, you can gain agreeableness. This is why You hear trainers out there in the balanced dog training community talking about rewarding bad behavior to create good behavior. Well, think about that even in terms of that narrative. It's out of context. These trainers are taking moments out of context in terms of agreeableness and trying to define those moments as if they represent something good's happening. It's no different than a selfish child that's mouthing off at a parent. Sure, you can pull a chocolate bar out of your back pocket and wave it to the side, and the focus changes, okay, in that moment of a selfish child. But ask yourself the question: does that represent that moment itself, where you're using a incentivizing, bribing, right? Establishing, creating a change of focus? Does that moment itself define change in terms of the right way with, say, the attitude of the selfish child? Absolutely not. Then just take this, because understand there's parallels here that almost line up almost exactly the same way. Because here's the thing: the truth is out there. I show these moments with these trainers who are getting redirected on, getting blindsided. There's many examples, and these are the same trainers who are invested in this ideology, okay, who are packaging it up this way. So just connect the dots. To think that there's something wrong with the dog, or that no, this is a problem with these trainers. So getting this question here, and again, I want to talk about this because this is thrown my way a lot by those who follow these individuals, who align with these individuals. And so here, a person left a comment. Now I've removed 3 or 4 comments. It's just so ridiculous. People get upset about what I have to say, but again, based on the information I'm putting out, they can't respond to it, right? And this is one of the things I say clearly: neither you have seen any of the other rehabs Dylan has done time and time again with very difficult dogs. Now, my response to that is: are you defining, okay, success? The same question a lot of these balanced dog trainers will put out. Well, success is defined within what exactly? Well, within the framework of response, right? I talk about context of agreeableness. So, what's the criteria that these trainers are using to properly define, to establish that success is happening the right way by way of perceptions of dogs changing the right way? Well, they're not, because those core ingredients I talk about to actually, it's the litmus test, okay? The core ingredients to actually establish, number one, the current state relationship, but change itself comes through those 2 core ingredients: influence and control, being defined, being reconciled properly by way of a intentional interaction-based methodology. That's the only way, okay? And that's not what's happening here. So anyone that wants to, try to espouse success, well, I'd say, well, how do you know you're not dealing with a ticking time bomb with the dog? You don't. I mean, this is why, owners will, build a world for a dog to fit into. A dog can gain an incredible amount of control in the relationship with their owner, everything with that owner, and this is the problem. Dogs are gaining control, fulfillment, will look very agreeable, look very, happy, and kaboom. It happens all the time. And these trainers, understand, these trainers are walking into the home environment of these dogs, engaging in a relationship problem. Ask yourself the question: how are they approaching a relationship problem? They're immediately using motivating agents and doing things like this to try to package up change, but the core ingredients I talk about are not reconciled properly, and they're not even when I talk about intercepting, okay, in the express state, dogs is expressing control, totally wrong. Okay, so but here's the test, because someone could say, well, talk about this trainer's success rate or rehabs. I'd love to show up there, okay, and you can put any dog in front of me. Ask yourself the question: how am I going to establish whether or not the current state of relationship where you're at? Well, I'm not going to do it through pulling treats out or engaging this way at all. I mentioned this on the video, how I go about revealing, right, and change itself through intentional control through that leash. Right? I talk about offset angles. I talk about being dialed in. I talk about intercepting. All those things. Those things aren't happening here. Okay, so again, people can just put forward all they want about success. Well, based on what exactly? Right? Think about it. Just like again, talk about a selfish child. Well, when is a selfish child's, bad attitude exposed? Well, based on again a relational interplay between parent and child. It's the demand, parental influence. Pick up your toys, because I'm the parent, versus pick up your toys and you'll get a brand new Xbox game. Okay, understand that influence control is part of the equation based on the social, okay, aspect of the relationship. Okay, I talk about certain themes like intent, dog understanding intent. It has to line up, right? But again, that's not what's happening here. So again, I just want to respond to this response because you get this a lot, and so you get 4 people right away all upset, right, like in this comment. Well, I put out specific information. In fact, I guarantee you, none of these individuals, I would challenge anyone to go onto my Facebook page and answer I call it the question of the century in terms of the criteria. Right, because these trainers, I mean, think about it. They're doing what exactly? Even here, they're thinking that this is good. Well, based on what? And again, here's the problem. Talk about walking on in dangerous dangerous water, being in dangerous waters. That's exactly what it is. But again, I show example after example of trainers, dog owners getting blindsided. And guess what happens when that happens? Oh, there must be something wrong with the dog. And understand this happens so often that it becomes normalized. People just go along with it. Because when something happens this much, when this ideology is so popular, then it just seems normal. These trainers just keep moving forward. And then the question is, well, how much change is seen? And that's all it takes. How much change is happening? We don't know. You're going by the seat of your pants because, again, what actually is used to reveal the current state of the relationship, or how you perceive currently in the relationship, that's gone. That's not part of the equation here. So again, check out my website. Lots of great information. Thanks for watching.